Hello, Nick Smoot here. I am the founder of Innovation Collective and the host of the American Dream Factory podcast. Today, you get to hear from the one and only Congressman Ro Khanna. He is the congressman over Silicon Valley. That means his constituents, his people that he represents in Congress, Apple, Google, Facebook, Silicon Valley's, Sand Hill Road, all of that exists inside of his district. That is a big task, ladies and gentlemen. In the last little bit, a lot of people have not been happy and they're angry at Silicon Valley. And there seems to be wealth inequality, and there's people trying to figure out what to do about it. And do we just let it run free and unfettered? Do we try and put handcuffs on it all and do universal basic income? How do we figure this thing out? Ro and I talk about this in this podcast. We talk about universal basic income. We talk about better on-ramps to capitalism. We talk about how to have a relationship between cities everywhere and this booming economy, because things are getting weird, folks. We didn't plan on all the wild things we have now, like an Amazon where you can touch a button and things just show up. We didn't plan on that when we first implemented our economic model, and yet here we are. So what do? Ro has some really great thoughts. He grew up in Philly. He's been a part of the Bernie Sanders camp. He is a congressman. He's got a bright future in politics, not because he's just one of those guys who's out there, waving and kissing babies, but because he is doing something and he is pushing ideas forward. He is busting his butt and doing his best. No one's perfect, that's all of us, but I will say this, Ro is doing a darn good job trying to be that bridge between all of us and Silicon Valley and helping both understand each other better. So Ro, thank you. At the end of this podcast, Ro shares his email. Please email him. He asked for you to share your thoughts with him, wherever he is, I'm pointing to myself, but with Ro, so that he can help build better plans, better ideas, better policies. If you don't email him, it's kind of on you, so don't sit back and whine and complain that politicians don't care, because you have one, Mr. Ro Khanna, who's saying, please email me. And he represents an interesting group. So do your part, let's build a better world together, and if you want to be a part of Innovation Collective, please reach out, innovationcollective.co. We have communities all across this nation, Florida, New York, Texas, Nevada, California, Idaho, more states coming, and some really fun projects that we're launching this year. I look forward to hopefully seeing you there. So fill me in a bit on you. So your background, you grew up in Philly. You ended up somehow in Bernie's camp, like helping lead some thought leadership there. And you find yourself in Silicon Valley, and you have thoughts specifically on a phrase, progressive capitalist. How has Philly played into that phrase? But before you get into it, what does it even mean, progressive capitalist, to you?
Progressive capitalist means I believe in innovation. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe that people should have the freedom to challenge conventional wisdom, to have transactions apart from government, right? You don't want every entrepreneur having to go to the Congress as a board of directors. So we want to celebrate people who are taking risk, who are building things. But we want people to have a decent shot. And I guess that's where Philadelphia factors in. I'm the son of immigrants. I was born in Philadelphia in 1976, or bicentenary. But guess what? I got to grow up where I got to go to a good public school, and my dad was middle class and engineer, but I got to have healthcare and nutrition, and I had little league coaches who believed in me. And I guess I just want that for everyone. I want that for everyone in America, that they should have the basics of healthcare and education so that they can pursue their dreams. And that's what I mean by sort of progressive, in making sure people have those basic capabilities, but capitalist, making sure that we have also the opportunity for entrepreneurship and private business.
Absolutely. And you mentioned this concept of pride of place. And I lived in Philly for a while. And Philly's had its
I didn't know that. What part?
Yeah. I was up in Fishtown, Northern Liberty's Fishtown. When I first moved there, I had a startup that got bought, and a friend who works at the company said, man, no one goes up to Fishtown. And I was like, no, it's changing. It was in the time where it started to become a bit different. Do you go back to Philly often?
I do, because my parents are still in Bucks County. I grew up in Bensalem, and now they moved to Northampton, and they're still there. They're in their 70s and good health. So I like to go whenever I can see them.
It's got a special spot in my heart. I love Philly. But you talk about pride of place. And you, much like myself, get out there to see the world as much as you can, right? And you're representing Silicon Valley, which in a lot of ways, everyone in the world is complaining it's their fault. Everyone's complaining at politics. They're complaining at this this issue out there, and there's a sense of people are losing that pride of place. What does it mean to you when you talk about that statement of people need pride of place, they need to find that, or they need to hold on to it? How do you define it? How do you think we get there?
Well, I think it's so important to realize that community matters, place matters, right? It mattered for me. I left, and I'm glad that I got these opportunities, and I think people should be free to leave, and that's part of the American dream of moving to opportunity. But it wasn't something without huge cost. I miss my parents. I miss the fact that my grandkids and my kids aren't close to their grandparents. I miss a lot of growing up, hanging out with people I grew up with, and I understood growing up in Bucks County. I still feel sentimentality when I go there and I see the closing of the old movie theater where we used to go hang out, or the baseball fields where I used to play Little League. Most people are attached to community and place, and that's a good thing. And we can't have policies that are blind to it, that just say, oh, it doesn't matter if all the wealth's piling up in Ro's district. That's fine. Everyone can just go move. No, communities ought to have pride, ought to be prosperous, ought to be able to keep their traditions. And I think that's been a blind spot in American policymaking for the past 40 years.
I fully agree. I could not agree more. And I love what you're saying about progressive capitalism and how that plays into that. So you've talked about the land grant for a modern era, and you and I are very deeply aligned on this concept that we have a pre-existing infrastructure. That it goes down to the county, and the parish, goes down to the county and the parish level. That we've used it to train people, teach people, lend people tools so they can get a kickstart on their farm. When you look at that existing infrastructure, how do you see that the private sector can partner with those institutions, along with how could we infuse new tools, new capital? What does that look like to make those maybe more modern, more relevant in your mind?
Well, you've been a big champion on the land grant university, and I say let's make them digital grant universities. Doesn't mean make them all just doing digital stuff. But look, 25 million digital jobs. Here's the biggest myth about them. This is not turning a coal miner into a coder. I don't know who said that. That was one of the dumbest things to say. These are jobs often in manufacturing, in retail, in agriculture. They're jobs about building things, making things. Here's the reality. Technology has advanced so much that they call the new tech jobs no code or low code jobs. You don't need to know coding. You just have to be comfortable using some software, and then you can do a lot of different things with it. And the digital grant universities can help do that where you have private industry. If automobiles are computers on wheels, I don't want all the technology building automobiles, all those jobs to be in Silicon Valley or in Boston. They should be in Michigan. And the land grant universities can help people acquire those credentials, those skills in collaboration with the UAW, in collaboration with the private sector. I just think the president should announce a goal: 2 million digital jobs in rural America and Black and Brown America. Convene the private sector, convene the land grant universities. You don't even need a lot of money. It's just a matter of the vision and the convening to make it happen.
Correct. I mean, the infrastructure's there. That's what always it shocked me when I realized in every county there's high-speed internet, has air conditioning, it has heat, has distribution for digital classrooms at the cooperative extensions, and yet often they just sit there unused, where people aren't doing rapid learning, badging, stackable credentials that lead directly into employment. So I'm with you on that one. And you say this idea, your book, right? It's entitled "Dignity in the Digital Age." You talk about pride of place. What can the average American do in your mind? I'm with you 100%. It's time for the president. It's time for the federal government to step up and go, wait a second, maybe we could find a better way for people to get the education in their own backyard and directly to the jobs. But when you look at what the average American can do for themselves to take that next step, because as you know, right, we have some sort of responsibility on our shoulders too. What is that one thing, two things that you think people need to continually keep at the top of their mind to help move this forward, but also that they need to do for themselves?
It's a great question. One I would say is participate in making sure that your community has the assets necessary to thrive in a digital age. And by that, I mean, maybe it's starting with you and your family to just be familiar with basic technology. Maybe it's making sure that the school curriculum has that, the community colleges have that, the private sector has that. And that doesn't mean that everyone needs to go become a techie. Gosh, that would be a boring world. We need our artists, we need our writers, we need our musicians. But you can't deprive communities of a significant engine of modern wealth generation. For there to be an ecosystem filled with writers and artists and restaurants and bars and entertainers, you need some bedrock that's fueling that. And that bedrock is going to be based on a digital architecture, whether it's manufacturing, retail, healthcare, education. Make sure that your community gets that, understands that, and embraces that. And don't let people say, we don't want to be Silicon Valley. Of course you don't want to be Silicon Valley. This is about, do you want to be part of the economic middle class and have a chance to build wealth in a modern
Do you want to be
economy?
viable? Like, do you want to be viable at all? Like, as a town, like at some point there's a viability question of the enjoyability index. Sure. Soup, beer, bars, restaurants, tourism, but who's going to pay for it? Like, there has to be the engine where you're importing the dollars. What you're saying
Exactly.
you're saying it's so spot on. Like, people have to wake up and not be afraid. Everyone's an idiot once, right? Like, at some point we didn't know how to walk. We learned how to walk. It's okay. Like, let's go play with the new tech and try something new. It feels very black magic, I think, to most people. What you're saying is so crucial, that a family should set some goals together and go out and pick what they want to learn together and just jump online versus going down the rabbit hole of unfettered social media or YouTube. Go learn a skill. It's a great platform out there. Well, I'm super grateful for your book, for your policy thought leadership, for what you're doing in Silicon Valley. I think many people would look at someone in your role and just think, oh, he's going to be someone who just does what big tech wants. I love that you are leading in a way that compassionately is trying to understand how to help people in Kentucky, right? From Silicon Valley.
Yeah, well, it's not, in my view, it's not charity or compassion. It's there's so much talent, and how dumb of us that we're not cultivating this talent. Why should these jobs be offshore? Why aren't we taking advantage of all of the talent there and helping grow the economy there and working together? And by the way, we start to prosper together, work together. That's the American way. That's how we start to understand each other. It's not me starting out by telling all my traditions of, celebrating Diwali as an Indian Hindu. I'm happy to. But why don't we first make money together, build wealth together, and then I can tell you that. So that's how we get I think that's what brings Americans together. And I think if we can link, this country was linked during the manufacturing economy. When manufacturing did well, the coal towns did well, the railroads did well. Now when Silicon Valley does well, I don't know what it means for Youngstown, Ohio. But you know what? If Intel invests in New Albany, Ohio, maybe we can start to say, our country is getting more interlinked. I want to have that interlinked. I want to focus on what will the middle class in a digital economy look like? What will the new small businesses look like? And have everyone participate.
Well, there's nothing more terrifying than the concept at the end of the day of a full UBI, where people aren't being asked to come in and participate in building things together. The idea that we're all going to eat fruit and sit at home and read poetry or go start little projects on the side, I understand it, but let's take that capital and let's build things together. If we can't even get the corporations to relocate there and understand there's talent and brilliant people there, we've got to find a way that they start working on projects together with each other. Because you said something to me is you start to take away bias about anyone. When you start to listen to their big dreams and ideas, you see them work hard to learn a new skill and you build something with them. They become your peer, your co-creator.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And we're not doing that enough in the public sector. We don't have national service, or we don't have everyone going to do that in a public setting. So maybe this can be one opportunity to do that in terms of these digital tech jobs, many of them remote jobs. It's building common purpose, building common activities. And, the UBI is just offensive. I think of the kids, young people I grew up with. I don't know a single person who said, well, we rooted for the Flyers or the Phillies. One day I want to grow up and get a UBI check from someone in Silicon Valley. No, people had pride. They wanted to be either engineers or electricians or firefighters or police officers, or they wanted to do things and they had pride in that work. And we've got to make sure that people are able to aspire and have meaning in their lives that they want. Not, I think it's
reason to wake up,
folks. Yeah,
reason to get up, man. Like I'm the idea of people talk about a handout and then people talk about a hand up. we need a handshake that is like we're looking each other in the eye and we're doing something together, right? Like that's the statement. Like we've got to have that mutual, we're building something special together, a new frontier where we see big companies. Yeah.
In fact, I think people are upset because they've seen their jobs go offshore, deindustrialization. And then the answer is often, okay, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. They said, no, why don't we have the same opportunities that kids in Rose District have, where the world should be our oyster, where we should be able to build wealth, to do things, to start businesses. And we should be able to do it in a diversity of areas. It doesn't all have to be tech. My point is just, though, it has to have the kernel of what's going to be wealth generating in a modern economy. And that has a big multiplier effect.
Forward looking for sure. And there's so many industries that, we're just seeing the beginning of where they're going to go. And we don't even know what comes next. I think about quantum. We don't even know the practical application of quantum computing yet. Like hard stop. And it's going to be this massive industry. Where is that superpower that's going to be the city that's like, yeah, let's figure it out. We can't just let it continue to be these main hubs. And really, it's people being confident enough, being around each other, learning the skills, and playing jazz with their minds and their hands and creating together and kind of bumbling over things to figure it out. Because it takes that. It takes that day in and day out. Well, Ro, I'm super grateful. Is there anything else that you would like to share? I'll share this with our communities that are reading the book, but anything else that you would like to share on the ends of how we can support the work you're doing? Not in a way that I'm not asking how it's a softball question, but I believe in the work you're doing. What can anybody across the nation?
Well, Nick, I believe in what you're doing. I believe in these communities that you're setting up across the country to be innovators and entrepreneurs and to give people their access to follow their dreams without leaving their hometowns. I'd say email me at ro@rokhanna.com, especially if you read the book, if you see some of my work and you say, hey, that doesn't make sense, or hey, this would be an easier idea to do it, or hey, why don't you try this? I get my best ideas. I'm very honest about it. I get my best ideas from other people, and then I, package them. But the ideas come the best from people who are on the ground. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love, and I mean that genuinely. If you have a proposal, if you have an idea, if you say, hey, this thing in Ro's book didn't make sense, reach out. I'd love to start the conversation.
Well, let's build a better tomorrow today, but do it together. I love that, man. So we'll get after it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. This was great.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Congressman Ro Khanna. It was an incredible conversation for me about what I believe in, which is people, and how do we get the best out of ourselves and out of our neighbors so that we can build the kind of communities we all believe in. How we get there, that's the question, right? We have the left, we have the right, all with their own opinions on it. What I love about what Ro was saying is this. It's about how do we get each other to step up and to build together. It doesn't take a ton of money. And I love that there's a congressman from Silicon Valley figuring out how do we invite everyone to the table together. I believe in what Ro's trying to accomplish. I believe in his invite to you. Please email Ro. He's asking for you to do that, to help him think through ways we can build a better tomorrow today. And how do we do that together? It's going to take all of us. It's not about the red, it's not about the blue. It is about purple people, you and I. So step up, send Ro an email, read his book. It's a great book. And most importantly, think deeply about the kind of world you want to build for yourself, and then set goals, invite others to help you to get there, and then do the same with others. Ask them their goals and help them get there. That's how we heal this nation, and that's how we build a great country. That's how we build a great tomorrow. So thank you, Ro. It was incredible. And if you have any questions about Innovation Collective, please do reach out to me. You can find us on a lot of different social channels, or you can email us at info@innovationcollective.co. Our whole mission is to build communities across this nation that are on-ramps to capitalism in a very healthy way, where we start to value our neighbor again, and we all learn skills together that help us build better careers, build better companies, and build better lives. It's going to take an effort that we all participate in. We can't just sit back and expect someone else to do it for us. So step up. We have 70 events per year, per community. We are working hard to provide you with access to capital, to mentors, to skills you need, and to personal growth. So join us with Innovation Collective as we build cities as a place where we can percolate talent, innovation, creativity, and stronger communities together. See you soon at one of our events, and please subscribe, share this with others, More conversations like this coming from us, and thanks for watching.